Alright, hey everyone, Professor Nagel here. I've got exercise 8.2 from Murach C open. That is, use a rectangular array. So I opened the application, I jumped into the code, and that was step 1. And we are using a rectangular array here, step 2, which is going to hold an array of strings that provides for 10 rows and 4 columns. So I need an array of strings, and it's a two-dimensional array, or a rectangular array. I'm going to call this results equals new string, and this is holding 10 rows and 4 columns. And then we also need a row counter, so int row is equal to 0. That was step 2. Step 3 is add code that stores the values for each calculation in the row of the array when the user clicks the calculate button. Okay, so we have all this stuff going on here. We know what the monthly investment is, what the yearly interest rate is, how many years, and then what the future value is. We want to store those in this rectangular array. So we have 10 rows, 4 columns. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 values that we want to store for every row. All right, so results in spot row, we're in row, column 0 is going to be equal to the monthly investment. And remember, this is a rectangular array of strings, so we need to save it as a string, and monthly investment is currency. Now in the same row, but in the first column, we want to store the yearly interest rate as a string. That is not currency. Okay, and we're probably going to have to work with that one a little bit, but I'm going to leave it like that right now. Actually, it's an interest rate, so it should be a percentage. We'll make it a P. In the next column, we're going to store the years as a string. And we can say N0 there if we want. I wonder if that's going to put a comma in there. I guess we'll find out. N meaning number, 0 meaning no decimal points. And then finally, in the last column, the fourth column, which is in index 3, we're going to store the future value as a string, as currency, just like that. So I think that was step 3. Oh, hey, don't forget, we need to row plus plus, right? Because otherwise we're always writing to the first row, which is row 0. So don't forget that row plus plus. All right, now look at this. Oh, we got all this code here and everything. And the step 4 is add code when the user clicks the exit button. Just go back to our form designer, double click on the exit button, and that takes us to the exit. All right. The exit is usually the last method of the class, but it's just easier if you can just jump down to the end, right, and not have to search for it. So just like in 8.1, we're going to say that we have an empty message, and then I'm going to add to the message kind of like a header. Okay, so I have the investment, and then a tab. I'm going to write it like this. So I have the investment, then a tab. I'm going to copy that. We have it 4 times. And then we have the rate and a tab, the years and a tab, and then the future value and a new line. And then we want to show this thing. Message box dot show message future value calculations. Okay, so here we need to loop through the rows of our two-dimensional array, or I say two-dimensional rectangular array. So to loop through the rows, we're going to use a for loop. for int I equals 0, I is less than, I forgot what I called this thing, results dot get length of the 0, get length of 0, I plus plus. And don't forget, close that curly bracket as soon as you open it. We're on row I at this point. Now we want to make sure that this row actually has some data in it. So I'm going to say if results I, and close autocomplete, not does it equal, sorry, not I is the entire row, I0. If I0 is equal to null, then I'm going to continue. I'm going to skip this row. Okay. Otherwise, we need to loop through the columns. So I have a loop inside of my loop, j equals 0, j less than results dot get length of the first dimension, j plus plus. So I guess really this is the first dimension, the second dimension. This is how many rows, this is how many columns. And now we can take our message and add to it results in ij and add a tab. This should be plus equals. Okay. Message plus equals results ij. So this is the row, this is the column of our rectangular array. We take that value and a tab and we add it to the message. And when we're done adding all the columns, message plus equals new line. Every time we get through a new row, we put a new line after it. So this bit right here, I have highlighted here, my header, I could totally have done this in one line of text. I think this is easier to read. That's just me. All right, let's check this out. This is not going to be perfect. Honestly, if it works at all, I'll be surprised. 112, 1, and then let's just change it. 105, 12 and a half, 2. Okay, so what do we got going on here? First of all, tabs they're kind of hard to line up sometimes. All right, this tab is really big. I'm not going to worry too much about that, but my rate's way too big. Okay, I need to take that rate and divide it by 100. Because when you entered 12 and a half or 12, really that's 0.125. But you enter it as 12.5. So we got to take that value and divide it by 100. And then maybe we can get investment. Maybe we can get that to be a shorter word. All right, so let's start with taking these these methods that we're not using or not working with, is valid data, is decimal, and I'm hitting the little triangle or caret before it, and it collapses that code. All right, see, we go from line 47 to 77. All that code's collapsed. Even calculate future value we're not using. And this allows me to get through my code a little bit faster. There's btnexit.click, and here's my code that I was working with here. All right, interest rate. We're going to take yearly interest rate. Let me see if this works in Visual Studio. Yeah, if you select something, like I have yearly interest rate selected here, where I'm adding it to the results, and while it's selected, hit open parenthesis, it automatically adds the close parenthesis at the end of that. I knew that worked in VS Code, wasn't sure if it translated over here to Visual Studio. So we fix that, and then we need to get this investment. We need to shorten what that says. So investment, something like that. All right, let's try it now. 112, 1, 105, 12 and a half, 2. Hit exit. There we go. That lined up a little bit better. Our interest rate was fixed. We have our years. And now, like future value, there's a new line returned there. After this future value, there's a tab and then a new line. It's all white space, so we really don't care about that. There's actually even an extra blank line at the bottom here. We don't really care about that as well. So it worked for 2 of them. It says test it for 10. I'll leave that up to you to test 10 different entries. But that was it. I hope this video was useful. Hit subscribe because I'll have videos for chapters 9 and beyond after this. You're not going to want to miss them. We'll see you next time.